Today we're going to talk about slope of a line. So, okay, now there's two ways to get the slope of a line, right? Okay, one is the formula which is in the log tables. Okay, so I'll do the formula first, and then I'll explain about the other one that you need to remember. Okay, so we're on. This is for your notes copy. Slope of a line. First off, what is slope? When it's basically how steep the line is, right? Okay, so if I have a line here, don't draw this. If I have a line A and a line B, which one has the bigger slope? A. You imagine you're at the bottom of the hill and you ask yourself, which one do I want to climb up, right? Okay, so which hill do I want to climb up? And the easiest one to climb up is B, so that means it's got a smaller slope, right? Okay, the second thing about slopes is, right, okay, here's the slope going this way, so we call it A. Here's the slope going this way, and we call it B. Does anyone know what the difference between A and B is? The slope. So we'll say the steepness is the same. One's a minus. Very good. Which one's a minus? B is a negative slope. So this line here will have a negative slope, right? Okay. And the reason it has or how you know it has a negative slope is, if you were to walk, you'd have to walk in the negative direction, right? The negative numbers are to the left, so you'd have to walk to the left to get up that hill, right? You'd have to walk to the right to get up this hill, so this has a positive slope. So we all know by looking at a line. Hello? I'm in maths class, I'm having a great time, right? Okay. So, negative slope, positive slope, right? Okay. We all know the difference between a negative slope and a positive slope, right? What about the slope of this line here? I say, put a measure on it. There is what hill? There is no hill, so it's got a slope of 0. And this one up here, you ain't getting up that hill without climbing equipment, and we don't have any. So we say the slope of this is undefined. Basically, the number is so big, we can't put a value on it. Okay, so straight up line, you'll never be asked for the slope of it because it's undefined. It doesn't have a slope because it's so big. Right? Is that okay? Are we all alright with slopes? Positive, negative, 0, undefined. Right? Okay. Back to the formula for the slope. So now, slope is the only one that has a letter to represent it. So the slope of a line is represented by the letter M, right? So it's the only one that has a letter. Distance, no letter. Midpoint, no letter. M, very confusing because M is for midpoint, but no, it's slope, right? Okay, so they call the slope M, right? So the slope of a line is given by y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So the slope of a line, girls, is just a number, right? Okay, and more often than not it'll turn out to be a fraction, sometimes a top heavy fraction, improper fraction. Okay, so if it turns out to be one of those, never turn it into a mixed fraction. For example, if your slope turned out to be 3 over 2, leave it as 3 over 2, don't turn it into 1.5. Okay, if your slope turned out to be 5 over 4, leave it as 5 over 4, don't turn it into 1.25. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, right, example 1. Find the slope of the line through the points, and I'll just make some up. -1, 3, and 4, -2. Okay? Actually, can I change that 4 to a 5? Okay. Right? So there's your 2 points. You call them x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so then you fill in. So the formula is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So it's y2 is 5. Then there's a minus sign. Then there's y1 is 3. Right? Yes, it is. That was a test and only you passed. Well done. So y2 is minus 2, minus y1 is 3, all over x2 is 5, minus, and then x1 is minus 1. So does everyone see how I've ended up with the two minuses in a row? First minus came from the formula, the second minus is part of x1. But two minuses in a row actually makes a what? Plus. So on top I have minus 5, on the bottom I have 5 plus 1 is 6, and that's my slope, minus 5 over 6. Is that okay? So you know that's a negative slope, so you know it's going up to the left. Don't you? How steep it is, you don't know. You don't have to draw it, okay? But just, is that okay? Slope? Right, okay. The second way we have of getting slope is one you have to remember, okay? And the slope is equal to rise over run. You've heard this before, haven't you? Yeah, you have. In first year, you definitely have. So slope is rise over run. And the only time you use this one, girls, is if they give you a diagram, right? Okay, so they give you a diagram with no numbers on it. So they might say, here's a diagram here of a line. Now let's see. Let's go. There's a line, right? Okay, and it'll say, what's the slope of this line? So I can't pick 2 points on the line because there's no scale. Sure, there isn't, right? So I don't know if this point is 1, 1 or what it is, okay? So what you do is you pick 2 points on the graph, okay? So you pick 2 exact points where they cross the crosses. So that one and that one, okay? We'll say it's exact, okay? And instead of going as the crow flies to get from here to here, instead of going as the crow flies, you go up and you go across. Now it doesn't matter where you pick the 2 points, you pick them. So you can pick them one at the start, one at the end. You can pick 2 alongside each other. You can pick one in the middle, one at the end, whatever you want. Okay, you'll get the same answer. Okay, so this is the rise and this is the run. Is that okay? So the rise is how many boxes up did you go? So the slope of this line, how many boxes up did you go? 1, 2, 3, 4. I went up 4 boxes, right? The run is how many boxes across did you go? How many boxes across did I go? 2. So 4 over 2 is 2, so the slope of that line is 2. Is that right? Yes.
You know the second box on the run. Yes.
Sorry?
You know the second box on the run.
Up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not full box.
Yeah, that's where I drew it. I meant to draw it like it was a full box. Okay? They'd never give you, you'd never use half boxes because you can't be guessing. Okay? Good question though. But I thought you would notice that I drew it all crazy wrong. Right? Okay? Are we okay? Slope equals 2. So you use rise over run when you have the drawing. Right? Okay? And when you have the drawing, the only thing is maybe is if you had a line like this. Okay? And wait, let's see. I'll try and maybe might use a ruler because then it might be better. So if I just draw a line like so, right? Okay, and I want to find the slope of that line. Okay, so again I'll say the slope is m is equal to rise over run. Yes. So you pick 2 points on the line. Okay. So your choice, so I might pick one here and I might pick one up here, okay? So rise is, I have to go the long way around, so I'm going to make a right angle triangle for myself, go the long way around. So the rise is, how many boxes? 2, and the run is 2. So the slope of that now is 1. Am I correct? Know what you know about positive and negative slopes. What do I know about that? It's definitely, so just stick in a negative, right? So just have a quick look at the end, right, okay, and stick in a negative sign if it's a negative slope. Okay, is that right? Are we okay with rise over run? Right. I think I might keep going for a minute. Is that alright? Will I keep going? There's nothing hard so far, is there? And I think it's revision. You definitely did slope in first year as well. Okay? Right. So can I move on to parallel lines? Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to talk about parallel lines. And I'm still talking about slopes, so I'm talking about slopes of parallel lines. Okay, so you all know what parallel lines are, don't you? Right, okay, tell me what they are, so. Two lines that never meet. So there's one line, right, and there's another line. Okay, parallel lines, train tracks, they're never going to meet. Right, okay, tell me about their slopes. Which hill would you prefer to climb up? Tell me again. They're the same. Great. So parallel lines have the same slope. Same. So if I said the slope of a line was 2, you tell me the slope of a parallel line is also 2. If I said the slope of a line was minus a half, what's the slope of a parallel line? Minus a half, right? We're okay with that? Easy peasy? Yeah. So remembering it is the thing, right? Okay, so you need to remember it, right? Perpendicular lines is the next thing. What's the story with perpendicular lines? They meet at a right angle, exactly. So perpendicular lines, or actually before I move on, there, if I call this line A and this line B, the symbol for parallel, girls, is A is 2 straight lines, B, right? See the 2 straight lines? That's a symbol for parallel. Is that okay? So that just means parallel. A is parallel to B, because remember, maths people don't like words, so they have symbols for everything. Is that okay? 2 straight lines, B means parallel. Are we okay with that? Perpendicular lines. So you've already told me perpendicular lines meet at a right angle. So when 2 lines meet, if they're perpendicular, right, they make 4 right angles. Is that okay? Right, if I call this line A and I call this line B, if they're perpendicular, girls, the shortcut, does anyone remember the shortcut to perpendicular? It's an upside down T. See it? So that means perpendicular. A is perpendicular to B. Are we okay with that? That's the shortcut for writing perpendicular. I'll tell you now in one tick. Right, so if I said I want you to prove line A and line B are perpendicular, right? So if I said I want you to prove that line A and line B are perpendicular, you basically get the slope of line A, so I'll call it MA, right? You get the slope of line B, I'll call it line B, and you multiply them, right? Okay, and if they are perpendicular, girls, you'll get the magic number, and the magic number is -1. So if you multiply their slopes and you get -1, they're perpendicular. If you multiply their slopes and you get any other number, they are not perpendicular. Okay?
Will it tell you their
It'll either tell you their slopes or give you a way to find out their slopes.
so it'll tell you like their coordinates,
They'll tell you their what?
like the coordinates.
Yeah, they'll give you the coordinates of 2 points on the line so you can use the slope formula, or they'll give you a diagram so you can use rise over run. Okay? Is that alright? So perpendicular lines, are we okay with those? Right? Now don't bother writing the next bit, I'm going to show you something. Right, we're just going to practice. Right. So if I said the slope of one line was 4/3, and I said the slope of another line was -3/4, and my question to you is, are they perpendicular? What would you do? You get out your calculator and you'd multiply them, right? And when you multiply them, you will get -1. So what's the story? Perpendicular. If I told you another one had a half, and the slope of another line was -4, and I said, are they perpendicular? You would multiply them, and when you multiply those, you get -2. Are they perpendicular? No. If I told you the slope of one line was 4, and the slope of another line was 1/4, and I said, are they perpendicular? You would multiply them, and you will get 1. Are they perpendicular? No, you have to get -1. You've only one shot. -1 or nothing. Right, okay. So this is perpendicular, this is not perpendicular, and this is not perpendicular. Okay, are we able to prove 2 lines are perpendicular? Right. The last thing I want to do today is, if I give you the slope of one line, can you give me the slope of a perpendicular line? So, given this, to get the slope of a perpendicular line, right, to get the slope of a perpendicular line, when given the slope of a line, right, the rule is you turn it upside down and change the sign. Turn the slope you're given upside down. So if it's 3/4, it's 4/3. Right? If it's 5/2, it's 2/5. Turn the slope upside down and change the sign. Right, and what I mean by that is, if I say, here's the slope of one line, what's the slope of a perpendicular line? So I'm just using upside down t, the slope of a perpendicular line. So if I told you the slope of one line was 3/4, what would the slope of a perpendicular line be? Right, you turn it upside down and you change the sign. Now you change the overall sign, right? So turn it upside down first. So turn it upside down, what I get? 4/3, and you change the sign. So overall that was, there's no sign there. So overall that was a plus, overall is now minus. So that's the slope of a perpendicular line. If you multiply those two numbers, what would you get? -1, because they're perpendicular. If I told you the slope of a line was -1/2, what's the slope of a perpendicular line? 2/1 plus 2/1. So do I put in the plus? I can if I want. 2/1, I could just write that as what? 2/1 is just 2, isn't it? Yes.
Would you be able to divide -1 by whatever the slope of
Yeah, and if you divided -1 divided by 3/4, you would get -4/3. That's exactly what you are doing. I'm just giving you a shortcut to do it. Okay? Is that right? So you're actually dividing, that's very clever, you're dividing -1 by the slope you're given. Okay? That's exactly what you're doing. Okay? Here, while I'm here, slope of a parallel line. Slope of a parallel line. So the slope of the original line is 3/4. What's the slope of any parallel line? You couldn't have forgotten already. Which is, if it was 3/4 to start with, what's it now? 3/4. If the slope of the original line was -1/2, what's the slope of a parallel line? -1/2. It's the same. Okay? Is that right? I'll just do one more. So I might do -3. Turn it upside down, change the sign to get slope of perpendicular line. What's the answer?
1/3.
Very good. Someone said 1/3, because I'm glad you put that over 1, and then when you turn it upside down, it's 1/3. And it was a minus, now it's a plus. You don't need to write in the plus. And the slope of a parallel line is the same, so that would be -3. Is that okay? Do you all see that with whole numbers, girls? In order to turn them upside down, you have to put them over 1. So 3 is the same as 3/1. Okay? Before you turn them upside down. Are we okay with that?
Do you change the
You-
units -2?
Yeah, you change one of the signs. So the minus, like -3/1, you can write it with the minus on top. You can write it with the minus on the bottom, or you can just write it with the minus at the front. Okay? They're all the same thing. Okay, so when you change the sign, you change one sign. You change the sign of the 3 to a plus. Don't change the bottom. Or you change the bottom to a plus. So you change one sign. Here you change the overall sign. They're all the same things. That's 3 ways of writing the exact same thing. Okay, so the sign is really with the whole lot, with the whole thing, even though we tend to write it with the top or the bottom, but it's really with the whole thing. Is that okay? Everyone all right? Any more questions for me? Right, okay. So what I might do is give you a load of these to do and leave you off. So let's do page 255, 254 to 255, and let's do 1 to 9. Okay, I'll put them up now in a minute.